one of these days.
Well,
Bill Brady.
Because Charlie's the expert.
I'll teach you everything I know. It won't take long.
Does that include math?
I got that part.
I mean, you guys are fast learners. That's what I'm saying.
All right, we are now live on
Rob?
YouTube and Facebook as well. So I can take that off the screen.
Okay, starting the show.
Well, yeah, let me do this. Hey everybody, welcome to another recording session for the Polite Society podcast. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Your crew tonight, to my right, is going to be Amanda Suffolk-Cool. Of course, I am the Target Radio. If you're not watching on Sunday evenings, you definitely should. Right below me, Charlie Cook. Riding Shotgun with Charlie comes out every 2 weeks on YouTube and podcast. And if you're not watching that, you should. And then Rob Morris of the Slowfax blog and of the Self-Defense Gun Stories that comes out every week on podcast. If you're not listening to him, you definitely should. So, that's going to be your team tonight. And let me go over and get show notes active and get the that's over here.
That was a whole lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas to our listening audience. Man, they come to be entertained, and all of a sudden you gave them work.
Well, no, I gave them entertainment, alternative entertainment.
Got it.
Does it involve feet?
Yeah, let's. Anyway, let's not send people to OnlyFans prematurely. Anyway, let's.
That in itself is its own channel.
Speaking of entertainment, I want to mention before we kick off the show for none of this is going on podcast, by the way. It doesn't happen until you hear Masada Ayub. But if you're watching us live on the Polite Society Podcast Facebook page or the Polite Society Podcast YouTube page, you can comment on those live videos. If you're catching us in a Facebook group or if you're catching us anywhere else, go to Twitter and tweet with the hashtag PSPodcast. I'll get those almost as quickly. We'll get those on the air. We'll discuss. We'll put your comments up and discuss them on the air. Right now, we've got a whole lot of checking in on YouTube. Facebook's strangely silent, but everybody's checking in on YouTube. Mostly those that were watching Charlie and I, 30 minutes ago. So. Krabby Turtle, I want to get this one up before we fire off into the podcast. Krabby Turtle says he's thoroughly entertained. I'm assuming he's watching us and not another window with the aforementioned website. So,
right.
Anyway, let me close that up. Is everybody on my team ready? Are we ready to kick this off?
Let's do it.
Good to go.
Okay. In that case, we get Masada Ayub in 5, 4, 3.
Hey gang, this is Masada Ayub from the Pro Arms Podcast. I'm here to remind you that our podcast is a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network, and I'm going to suggest you do what we do and check out the other podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.
Treat every firearm as if it's loaded.
Never point a firearm at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy.
Keep your finger off the trigger until you are on target and ready to fire.
Always be sure of your target and what lies beyond it.
Hi, and welcome to the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast. We're recording this one on Monday, December the 5th, 2022. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm Rob Morris, and on tonight's show, we'll talk about the federal government's attempt to create a backdoor gun registry with the help of some private companies.
I'm Amanda Suffolk, and we're going to talk about firearms sales continuing at a record pace. Charlie?
I'm Charlie Cook, and in our defensive gun use segment, we will talk about a son who saved his mother with a handgun. So climb aboard.
Strap in.
And hang on.
Episode 642 of the Polite Society podcast starts right now. And welcome back. This is Monday at 6 p.m. It's in the Central Time Zone, the only time zone that matters. And so obviously it's time for another episode of the Polite Society podcast. As I usually do, I'm going to reach down and hit this button and say, Rob, what have you been up to since the last time you've been on Polite Society?
I was in Honduras for a week where I could get some texts sometimes. Today, back in technology, I was on Bill Frady's Lock and Load radio show. Amanda, how have you been?
I've been good. Let me tell you, I have been reading Senate Bill 357 in Ohio, contacting our senator who wrote it, trying to talk him off the cliff, and it didn't work. He says I don't understand. So I just finished my paperwork and the writing and the submitting of my testimony for Ohio 357 because I am going down to testify. It is a mishmash, hot mess of restrictions that maybe they sound good, but they're not constitutional in any manner. And so I am probably going to quote Adam Kraut and say that if you pass this, SAF will sue you. So that's written into my testimony. So,
yep.
Yeah. So how about you, Charlie?
Well, Matt Mallory and I have been back to doing our live stream shows. We've done shows with Michael Bain and Bill Dalby in the last couple weeks. Teaching classes has been slow, whether it's here in Massachusetts or in Utah. I have been carrying every day, and if people tuned in a couple weeks ago, I talked about a book at one of my school libraries. I made a video of me checking out the book from the school library, which I thought was pretty entertaining. And I really did all of this just to blow the case apart that 18 to 20-year-olds during the Civil War had rifles and carried rifles and used them.
I want to see the video of you checking it back in. I think it's going to look a lot like the Pink Panther.
I want to see Charlie with a bag of sand in one hand and the book in the other. And
well, I did. So the book was on a display at the end of the rack, and I did pull out another book, and I had to put it in that place, and I added the Indiana Jones music when I did that. But replacing it really should be much more anticlimactic. This is really funny. So I told Amanda that I got the book, and she said she wanted proof. So I took a picture of the book, and she says, you can still be in the library. So I went to a gas station. I put the book on I stopped at a convenience store. I went to the newspaper. I put the book on top of a newspaper and took a picture of it, and I walked out. I'm sure I look like a lunatic. And she's like, that's not enough proof. It needs to be in your car seat.
I was like, the newspaper is at the library. So if it's just a picture of a newspaper and a book, it could be anywhere in the stacks. You show me a car seat, right? I want to see that book in a car seat because then I know it really left the building.
Well, I took a picture of the car seat with the book in with the seatbelt on. So.
Right. So I just need to know the name of the town for the police report.
I'm sorry. I think there's a bad connection there.
I couldn't quite hear what you were saying. Right.
Exactly.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Remember, we're law abiding.
Yes.
It's the library. I checked it out. This is what they do. Right? They loan people books, like Seinfeld. You know how to take reservations. You just don't hold the reservation. Anyway, Paul, you've had some time.
Gee, what was that? An attempt to change the topic, or
The best way to get out of
I think it was a pretty good attempt, actually.
Well, on my end, obviously there hasn't been a bullet. Well, there was a bullet about an hour ago, but there was a gap. The last bullet I did was with Rob, and it was the day before Thanksgiving, and Susan and I had to go take care of some family business, and I was gone for about 10 days and got back late Friday night. There wasn't enough time to do a weekend edition bullet on Saturday, so this is today is my first day back broadcasting for about 10 days. I've not done, it's been dealing with family business. I haven't done a whole lot of gun stuff other than transported several between South Dakota and Idaho and back. And so making plans now for SHOT Show and for the Florida Carry event and for the first personal vacation Susan and I have taken in, I want to say 12, 15 years. And that's going to be coming up in February. So making plans for all those things, that's what's been filling my world since I've been back. Let me see here. Michael over on the YouTube side, I want to get some comments in here. Michael says, I'll be driving, so I won't be commenting, but thank you all for all you do. Well, thank you, Michael. Michael's a very frequent commenter on videos that I produce, so glad to see you checking in. Also, 500 Magnum says, every going on in Canada and China should be a wake-up call for everyone in the U.S. That's exactly what our government wants to do to all of us. That's a hard one to argue with, guys. That's a very accurate comment. So, let's do this. We got news coming up. Let's before we do that, I've got to find. It's been 2 weeks, and all the buttons I don't know how they do it, but they rearrange themselves, and I want to push that one and show everybody that there's a web page that needs to. There it goes. There it loaded. Self-Defense Radio Network. We're talking about, of course, the network that carries Polite Society. You see us up there. You see Rob's Self-Defense Gun Stories. You see Amanda's Eye on the Target Radio. Some guy named Charlie Cook puts out Riding Shotgun with Charlie. That's up there. There are more I know I keep saying this every week, but there are more podcasts coming. There's a minor holdup. We're trying to get at least 2 more podcasts on the network. More are coming. Right now, you can see there are 13 podcasts with more to come. So you can listen right on the website, or there's subscription information there if you so choose. But no matter what, it's all self-defense or freedom-related podcasts. All your pro-freedom podcasts in one place. Check it out at sdrn.us. Guys, I think we should take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about news. Sound good?
What a plan.
There you go. All right, folks, we are going to step aside to break. We're going to hear from ACLDN, and we'll be right back right after this.
This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. If you carry a defensive handgun, you need protection from the aftermath of prosecution. Even if you do everything right, you can be the victim of an overzealous prosecutor or even be falsely accused. That is where the ACLDN comes in. They provide immediate assistance when you need it most. If you find yourself under arrest, they immediately pay bail money and the retainer for your attorney. Additional funds are available for trial and civil proceedings. Beyond the money, they have far and away the best team in the industry, providing you invaluable information and training DVDs that are included with your membership, and who stand ready to work with your lawyer on your defense. People like Massad Ayub, John Farnham, James Fleming, Tom Givens, Emmanuel Capelson, Dennis Tuller, and led by Network President Marty Hayes. Initial membership is only $135 for your first year, and you get 8 incredible training DVDs and other educational material when you join. If you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to defend yourself at your disposal right now, you need to be a member of the ACLDN. Go to armedcitizensnetwork.org and become a member today. And please mention that you heard about them on the Polite Society podcast.
And welcome back to the news segment of the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast. This first story, this has got the potential to be very serious stuff. Rob, you want to take this first story, man?
As soon as I page up, Paul. Sorry about that. My bad. Professionalism has escaped me today. Republican Montana Attorney General Ashton Knudsen alleges that new shipping guidelines allow the UPS and FedEx to, quote, track firearm sales with unprecedented specificity and to bypass warrant requirements to share that information with federal agencies, close quote. The letter is signed by Knudsen and 16 other state attorney generals. It says that the altered shipping guidelines force licensed firearm dealers into providing detailed information about purchasers, the purchasers who are receiving those firearms through the mail. The letter does not have explicit proof that the shipping giants are sharing information with federal agencies, but it cites conversations between state officials and licensed firearm dealers who claim that the firearms dealers were forced to comply with these regulations. State officials are asking UPS and FedEx to provide them with information about any recent rule changes and to disclose any role the federal government played in the matter. I would add that the power to regulate is the power to destroy, and those shippers were asked to impose these new regulations by several Democrat senators. Nice business you have there. It'd be a shame if anything happened to it. Let me add this. The Montana Attorney General regularly submits articles at The Truth About Guns. It's pretty clear where he stands.
Yeah. Montana has always been let's say, a Second Amendment friendly state. And it's good to see that the Attorney General there, along with 17 others, are paying enough attention that they're able to fire this off. Charlie, you and I talked about the coming Republican control of the House in January. I'm wondering, and this is for anybody that wants to answer, I'm wondering if that might be something that comes front and center come January 2023 when the new Congress is signed in and Republicans take control, or if this is just something the states are going to fight.
I don't know if the states are going to. Oh,
I see Amanda's lips moving, but I don't hear her. And I don't have her muted on my end.
Did you mute me?
No.
There you are.
Huh. Okay. Well, go ahead, Charlie, and then I'll talk.
I was going to say this. This is a huge invasion of privacy. I think for the people that are purchasing things, and in the 90s, back when I was a young man, I was in this thing called Beer Across America, and I would get 2 6-packs of some microbrew around the country. And my favorite day of the month was the day after I got these, because the day after I got these would all be cold and in the fridge, and I could enjoy them. Not all at once, but
so you say.
Right. I probably had this subscription for 2 years before they stopped delivering to Massachusetts because they couldn't have couriers delivering alcohol. And what if somebody did the same thing with an alcohol subscription like this, and they said, hey, listen, we can't deliver this to your house because you have kids. We can't deliver this to the house because you don't have a license to consume alcohol. You go to AA meetings. You shouldn't be receiving this. This is all ridiculousness. Like keeping track of having UPS set the policy for things that they will ship. Their job is just to ship. Like they deliver stuff. That's what their job is.
Yes.
Well, we had the recent
Amanda, you go first.
circumstance.
Yeah.
We had that recent circumstance where they took the 80% guns that they perceived to be 80% guns and destroyed them mid-transit. And all of a sudden that story died away, but it's not over because it wasn't their property to destroy. If they accept the shipment, then they need to deliver the shipment either to the end goal location or back to its originator, but no place else. It has no other choice, one or the other. But the other question is you had started with, do you think that the Republican-held House is going to make a difference on this? So keep in mind that there are issues that are states' rights versus federal rights, and depending on whether these were on a federal level senators who pushed these national corporations and threatened them with federal sanctions. And then the second question depends on who we get as Speaker of the House and whether they actually have a spine or not.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah. I'm decidedly concerned about that.
Right. And we know the Speaker will not be Jim Jordan of Ohio. And the South Dakota representative, Dusty Johnson, doesn't have nearly enough time in office and honestly is a little milquetoast. So, I don't know.
Who's the current Speaker? Who's the Republican?
Who is the Republican
candidate? The Republican candidate is the dude out of California.
Right. I want to say Murphy, but I don't think that's right.
No, he doesn't have enough votes. I'm trying to think of what his name is.
He doesn't have enough courage either.
Well, I think that's why he didn't get enough vote of confidence. So the question is is everybody tough enough to take Marjorie Taylor Greene or a Lauren Boebert or a Thomas Massey?
Right
I like
now,
the way you think.
Right now, Kevin McCarthy is the minority leader in the House.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart. I need you guys to explain this to me. Why are the shippers involved at all? The guns in shipment aren't my property until they're in my hands and I've paid for them, and I've passed the background check.
And it goes through an FFL one way or another. So it really is from one FFL to another FFL, not the person who's destined to get it after the background check.
This is an inventory transfer between either a distributor and an FFL or one FFL and another. Why is the end purchaser involved until the point of sale at all?
How do they even know who the end purchaser is in most of them? Because it's coming from the distributor to the gun shop in hopes that they will have someone who buys it. And if the gun shop had a spine, everything would be stock inventory on their documents.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is where I feel very much like a libertarian, and I'm saying, well, what if somebody starts shipping drugs with via FedEx or UPS? Like, it's not. I can ship something to myself as long as it's illegal, legal for me to possess. But if they make an 80% lower illegal to possess, or firearm parts illegal to possess, I mean, I'm thinking
once they make it illegal, then that's one thing. Until they make it illegal, it's constitutional, and they receive a package, ship a package, sign off on the package.
Right? Because we're talking. I mean, Rob was talking about stuff going from a distributor to an FFL or FFL to FFL. I'm thinking about gun parts. What if somebody ordered a slide and a barrel in the mail, and UPS found out it was from somebody that ships gun parts and didn't want them to make it to my PO box?
Right.
The
receiver, the serialized receiver, it's a different story, unfortunately.
It's a gun part. Yeah, it's a gun. But this is the same thing is tied to your credit card tracking why and deciding whether you can buy it or not. So, Rob, what's your body mass index, and should you be having that Snickers bar or not? right? I mean, that's where I can see this. Do you seriously need to stop and get a Blizzard at Wendy's? Right? I mean, so is your credit card not going to work there because it wasn't healthy? And yes, you can buy rutabagas, but no, you can't have a smoothie?
What about Good Ranchers? Good Ranchers is a place that sends meat. And what if a vegetarian took over UPS or FedEx and said, I don't want people eating meat. I'm not going to ship meat. I'm going to leave it and let it spoil or whatever.
Let me get a comment up here. C&T Designs and Arms says, because Democrats can pass laws that would hurt these shippers, the Dems call and send letters to these companies saying, if you don't do what we want, we'll pass laws or regs that will kill your business.
Yep.
Right now, that is the case because it's a 50-50 Senate.
C&T, you're absolutely right.
And it's a Democrat House, so yeah.
Okay,
Wait, you look like
guys,
you had a thought, Rob.
I did. Yeah, I found one the other day. I
light bulb above his head.
Somewhere.
Wow.
Boing. People say they're socialists. This is what socialism is. The government controls what any business does and can impose their will at any time. It's basically government blackmail. And I've heard people say different. My first votes, when I was old enough to cast them, were in Chicago. I've seen it. If you want to argue with me, I'm very easy to find. This is exactly what a bunch of people voted for. I just don't think they're smart enough to know it.
Yeah.
Right. They want to force other people to do what they want them to do, but they don't want to do what other people want. They don't.
They think it's a one-way street.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. And what's the old saying that I carry a gun not to enforce my will on others, so that others don't enforce their will on me.
Bingo.
I was just thinking tit for tat, but then I was the only girl here saying tit. So sorry.
That's the other channel.
Sorry,
yes.
kids.
Yes. And I
by the way, Charlie only has a few programs up. He's trying to get that fully syndicated, so you may have a hard time finding it.
Let's now that we're completely off the rails, I'm going to take the next one because this is the shortest story in show notes. We sold another 1.5 million guns in November, over 700,000 in 1 week alone. I believe that's the week that included Black Friday. This, I want to say, is the 38th month in a row that we've topped 1 million guns a month. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking December is going to be adding. I don't see this abating anytime soon.
No, it may be 39. December may be 40. We're right there, though.
What's fascinating to me is people go, oh, it's not a record month. I go, no, that was 2021 where we blew everything off the charts. But this is the new normal. What I can't figure out is why weren't these gun buyers in the polls to vote? Oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could be back to maybe they were.
Oh. Hey.
Right.
I do not want to get a YouTube. I've got a strong warning from YouTube that I'm not to question election results. But anyway, so yeah.
Now that we've had that short story, can I go to the next one?
Yeah.
Yes.
While many Democrat-run states will be looking to raise the age to exercise your Second Amendment rights from 18 to 21, typically, red states are expanding our freedoms. Just a few days ago, the Georgia Group, it's the other channel.
Now we're back to that channel.
GA2A put forward a proposal to lower the age for concealed carry from 21 years old down to 18. Likewise, a lawmaker in Oklahoma has introduced legislation to reduce the age for a permit in that state as well. Every vote counts. Thank you.
Well, and Charlie and I just talked about a victory by the Second Amendment Foundation in Washington here when we were on the bullet a little bit ago. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals knocked down the 18 to 20 restriction
on semi-auto rifles.
Right. So not only are we winning in the red states, we're winning in the liberal Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
The interesting thing is that this Senate Bill 357 in Ohio that I'm going to testify tomorrow, they actually have a section of this bill. It's like 4 sections that one is just worse than the other, And a section of this bill is that if you are between 18 and 21 years old, for you to be able to buy a gun that you can currently buy, they want you to be able to have someone who will come and stand for you. In effect, have a gun cosigner that says that they are standing for you. And that person has to be 24 years old or older and say that you are of sound mind and all of that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, what am I signing up for? I mean, if I'm not going to co-sign for your car, why am I going to co-sign for your gun? And then how long am I tied to your gun? I'm tied to your car for the length of the loan. And actually more than that, because if your name's on the title, you are then tied to it for the length that they own the car. So how long are you tied to this? It's just, bunk is probably the politest term that I can come up with right now.
You should get video of you taking a 357 to State Bill 357.
No.
Make it target practice, right? I mean, you mentioned 357 before, and I'm like, is someone going to say something about this being 357? Let's go.
Right, I know. The fact that and it is so anti-gun on so many levels. I mean, one of the other things, I'm going to continue to talk about this, I'm sure, even after the testimony. They actually have enough chutzpah to have written in there that if you are someone, and primarily it's in the underserved communities, that has a SNAP card, that has government medical assistance, that has government heat assistance, that has some kind of government assistance, you have to write it on the 4473 form to document where you got the money to buy the gun. So are they assuming that if you get government assistance that you're breaking the law somewhere and they want to track that? I was like, I am so angry.
I'm serious.
By the way, thank you for keeping us on the air.
If I had to fill that out, I would say something like, I started an OnlyFans channel about feet. I mean, what? Who cares where you got? It's none of their darn business where you got the money.
Oh, exactly. I actually wrote in my speech, Ohio, you're better than this.
You know what? And here's what's embarrassing. Now you've got this horrible piece of legislation. I want to actually watch some Democrats vote for it. They should be ashamed. Where are the civil libertarians? I almost got that out right the first time. Civil libertarians who should just be ready to climb the walls, storm the barricades, and say, how dare you?
Yes.
Well, this is trying to come out of committee. So this is the in committee testimony. So I'm hoping that we can kill it, nip it in the bud before it ever comes out of committee.
Or that some other committee members are smarter than this. Yeah.
Let me get
this completely. This completely reminds me of the guy in New Jersey who said he doesn't want the people of Newark and Elizabeth and whatever towns it was. We don't want more of them having guns. Okay, well, if you are getting government assistance, we don't want you having guns, but we know who is getting government assistance, right? That's totally what they're saying.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yes, and this is slavery's not the right word. What do they have after slavery?
Indentured servitude?
Yes. What was that, Paul? Indentured servitude. Yes, absolutely.
Servitude.
Absolutely. And you can get a gun. Well, where did you get the money to get a gun? Oh my gosh, this is
I
expensive.
stood down on the street corner for 2 hours.
Well, you should be taxed, and then
I got this new pedicure because there's this really cool website.
Rails show.
yes, let's bring it back. Reel it in for us, Paul.
No, I'm just saying, I am so angry about this, but yeah.
Michael DeWine says, voice to text. I hope this comes out all right. And I think it did, Michael. I hope it comes out a lot of AR pistols, maybe 5 million AR pistols in December. I'd like to see that and have them Cerakoted with FJB or maybe LGB. I added that last part, but yeah.
Yeah, something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Michael, it came out really well, except for Cerakoted. Kind of looks like it's your wife with a new jacket.
Looks
but
like Cerakoted.
Yeah, but we got the gist of it, Michael.
Close enough.
We knew exactly. Mm-hmm.
We are hooked on phonics.
I'm telling you. Hey, I got my husband a new smartphone, and let me tell you, every text looks like that. Only there's no spaces.
I've put out a podcast like that.
Oh,
yep.
Shoo.
500 Magnum says if you have to prove you're special to have rights, then they're not rights, they're a privilege. Shall not be infringed means just that. Right? Again, 500 Magnum, just like on the bullet, you're right on track there.
Amen.
And,
so you guys keep your fingers crossed, and we'll see what they have to say tomorrow, and hope. So pray for some wisdom for me, so when they get to the questioning portion, I can say crock of cheese instead of what I want to say.
It's a bunch of malarkey.
Right.
Big John 410 had a suggestion for Charlie. Sharecropping. Yeah,
sharecropping.
Yeah, sharecropping and an indentured servant. It's the same sort of thing. You work for us. We're going to keep you in place. If you are, a recipient of government assistance, then you are not going to get a gun. And if you are getting government assistance, where did you get the money?
Yeah.
Well, they're inferring. I mean, and when I talked to the guy who wrote it, he was inferring that there was some history that there was somebody that had a snap card that was dating somebody who was in a gang, and so that they were buying the guns and transferring them over. Okay, well then that means she's a criminal.
Right. We already have that.
She gets paid. So prosecute her under the laws she broke, and do not create more laws for other people who are law-abiding, people who are just barely functioning in some cases. So you're saying that if you are poor, you don't have the right to self-defense. That's really the statement that they're making.
Yes.
They're also saying that if you're poor, you don't have a way to save money. Like, what if somebody takes $10 a month for a year, for 2 years, and puts money aside to buy a $250 gun?
Our gun shop takes layaway.
Yeah.
It's like a Christmas club.
And let's be honest, there are firearms out there that are not $500-600 handguns like I love to buy myself. There are High Points and others that you can get for much less than I buy my Glocks and Smith & Wessons and others for.
You show off. But there is a variety of price points depending on the market and what their application is.
Yeah. I get the emails from Emoland, and I'm going to say 3 times a week I see some guns on sale through, not through Emoland, but that they're promoting. And they're guns that I can't have in Massachusetts. There were some Heritage Arms, single action revolver 22s for $90 after it's $120 with a $30 rebate.
Typically $129 is what you could buy them for.
Yeah, and they have a rebate going on till the end of the year, and I'm like, man, that might be kind of nice to own. And I called up my buddy who's an FFL. I'm like, these aren't on the approved weapons roster, and he's like, yeah, no, you can't buy one of those.
No. There you go.
Yeah, it's and are there how do I put this? As a firearms trainer, there are, like Amanda said, there are multitudes of levels of price points for firearms. What would I consider a worthy gun to defend my life with? They start at around 400 to 450. However,
okay, but you're just a gun snob, bud. So, I mean, think about it. There are some people who only get around with a moped because they can't afford a car, or they get around with a car that they just bought for $500,
Yes.
and they pray that it runs every day. So they may also pick up a gun and pray that it runs when they need it.
however, you can buy the $99 gun and then keep saving your money, and when you've saved up another $150, trade in your gun for a $250 gun. You know, you take your gun, trade it in, add another $150 to it, and you're up a step. Keep the process. You know, you can work your way up. The beautiful thing is, we live in the United States of America. Guns are property. You can buy and sell property. Even in California, you can go to an FFL and trade in your firearm for a different firearm. You may have to add some cash to it, but, you know.
And where did you get that cash, Paul?
Yeah. I stood down on the street corner for a few hours. Held up a sign, will work for guns, you know.
I'd give to that guy.
Will work, wink, wink, for guns. Yeah, I know that street corner. I don't stop there anymore. I'm afraid of you guys.
Rob,
I'm
again,
married.
I'm the guilty one this time. I took us off the rails. Rescue us, dude.
Okay. Where are we?
Oregon.
Good question. Oregon,
114.
California.
Let me take
Where
this.
are we?
There's a third federal lawsuit filed against Oregon's anti-rights ballot initiative 114. Under this new law, firearms purchasers would have to be required to submit fingerprints and photos to their local sheriff, their police chief, or the Oregon State Police before requesting that law enforcement authority conduct a criminal background check. Measure 114 sets no time limit under which law enforcement must complete their checks. In fact, the police are not required to respond at all. Measure 114 also allows law enforcement to request any additional information deemed necessary, and there is no penalty if the police don't process your application. That discretion to demand any additional information is in defiance of the U.S. Supreme Court's Bruin decision, and that said the standards must be definite, limited, objective, and unbiased. The Oregon measure also includes restrictions on magazines with a capacity exceeding 10 rounds. That turns law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, subjecting those who own standard magazines to unconstitutional confiscation schemes and imprisonment for up to 364 days and fines exceeding $6,000. Measure 114 is scheduled to take effect this Thursday. And I know SAF and Firearms Policy Coalition have a suit. I know NRA and one other, their NRA is involved with another organization, and they've filed a suit. There are a lot of lawsuits in Oregon that are flying fast and furious out there. And no, I'm not talking about a movie or an Obama administration debacle. So.
Well, the interesting thing is that they sent back a letter saying that they're going to pause a couple of these things. They're willing to hold on some stuff. And the question is, are they holding because they think that they can do a stalemate? Are they seeing that there's an issue? You know, and so nobody knows strategically if they're trying to stonewall the judge or if they really are trying to figure it out. But my vote would be stonewall the judge.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to come back to that very same topic in a later news story, Amanda. You're not wrong.
Rob,
now I know where we are. You want me to read the next one?
Yeah, sure. And after this one, I think we need to step to break. But let's get this next one out of the way.
With Republicans taking over the House next year, federal gun regulators are already getting love letters from congressmen asking about some very particular issues. U.S. Representative Jim Jordan is an Ohio Republican, and he's set to move into the chair position of the House Judiciary Committee. He fired off a pretty blunt letter to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, particularly to the director, Steve Dallenbach. He wants Dallenbach to know that, yeah, this is not last year's Congress, noting that his office and others have made several requests to ATF for more information on controversial new rulemaking initiatives coming out of ATF. And those letters were ignored. Jordan raised the prospect that compliance will soon become, well, let's just say, it's not going to be voluntary anymore. Quote, if these requests remain outstanding at the beginning of the 118th Congress, the committee may be forced to resort to compulsory process to obtain the documents, close quote. That was in the November 28th letter. Also, quote, the addition to advance our oversight, we may require prompt testimony from ATF employees. We expect your unfettered cooperation, arranging for the committee to receive testimony from ATF employees, close quote. Jordan has repeatedly asked the agency over the past 23 months, saying that the Bureau went well beyond the authority granted the agency in any applicable federal statutes, particularly when it came to new rules on pistol stabilizing braces and the definition of frames and receivers. One last quote. The Biden administration is coming for your Second Amendment rights, the congressman said on social media last month. We won't let them off the hook, close quote.
It really sounds like Jim Jeffries is growing the spine that we wish the Republicans have had for the last 20 years. And then I reflect back to earlier in the show when Amanda said, he's not very smart. I'm like,
I didn't say that out loud, Charlie.
Oh,
that
was. See.
So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was
I apologize.
It's Jim Jordan, as it is, and it's really funny because when you watch him, he is so darn good, and he's taken over the House Judiciary Committee, and he is a bulldog. But so it's the detractors who just keep saying, well, yeah, but he's not real smart. And it's like, you don't see that. We don't see that. You can't see that. So stay tuned, watch this space. But Jim Jordan is like the pride of Ohio and an extreme conservative. And so it should be, politics is getting to be a blood sport.
I like to say here in Massachusetts, politics is a full contact sport.
Is that an OnlyFans channel again?
Wow. I've been accused many times of not being the sharpest knife in the drawer. So,
But it's accusations and it's the detractors, right? I mean, look at what they're saying overall. And so I want to see what they do, not what people say about them.
There you go. I like that.
If they're just saying, I mean, honestly, it could be one of these things where if they just say enough bad things about him, people are going to start to believe it.
Oh, yeah.
People start to repeat it, eh, Charlie?
People start to repeat it. This is also true. And then they don't know where the source came from, and then they mix it up a little bit, and they really put egg on their face.
Going back to middle school and the telephone game, yeah.
Right.
CNT Designs and Arms says, I'll say it again, the Biden administration has put over 85 judges on federal benches, and they will uphold all this unconstitutional laws. He also says they will hold up these cases until the left takes back the Supreme Court. A lot of these are going to get fast-tracked in the Supreme Court, with Thomas in a leadership role there, and with at least 5 strong Second Amendment advocates in the Supreme Court. I'm not going to say 6 because
Right.
But with 5, I'm thinking that a lot of these are going to get fast tracked up into the Supreme Court, especially with Heller and now the Bruin or the United. I'm going to get it again. So somebody's going to comment. It's the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case. Yes, it is. With New York State Rifle and Pistol Association and Heller being so clear, I'm thinking the Supreme Court is not going to take another 12 years to knock this stuff down.
Everyone calls it Bruin. You might as well just roll and call it Bruin, because if you call it the NUSERPA case, nobody's going to know what you're talking about.
Right.
But if I call it the Bruin case, I'm going to get comments, it's the New York State. Yeah, and it is. So.
But it's not, because there's a spot where it gets a tag, it gets a name, whether they like it or not. Most of the time, the cases are named after the winner, and in this case, it is named after the loser. Suck it up, Buttercup. That's what we've got.
It's because nobody can pronounce NYSERPA.
Right.
Right. Let's do this. We've got still more news stories to cover. Let's take a fast break. We're going to hear from CNJFO. When we come back, we'll talk about more news. We'll get to that right after this.
New Jersey is a civil rights wasteland where an unconstitutional law known as justifiable need keeps ordinary citizens from exercising their right to bear arms. New Jersey spits in the eye of freedom, ignores the Bill of Rights and the Heller decision. New Jersey politics are an anti-civil rights bulldozer and a spreading cancer. The Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners, a tax-exempt nonprofit, has a goal to defeat justifiable need, reverse course on all anti-freedom laws, and render aid to other jurisdictions by filing Supreme Court-bound litigation. CNJFO is a beacon of freedom behind the Iron Curtain in New Jersey. Join CNJFO's strong, enthusiastic patriots. Support the Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners today. Protect all our rights and return freedom to the Garden State. To donate or learn more, go to cnjfo.com.
All right, and we're back. And I should mention, I have to give a call to the leader of CNJFO because they want me to rewrite and reread that ad. I recorded that very shortly after my stroke. And
yes,
it's obvious that I speak a little bit better than that now. Thank goodness, and thank you to my speech therapist and a lot of practice. I'm getting back to where I was, but look for a new ad for CNJFO coming up very soon. So, getting back to news, guys, and again, by the way, as I should say, this is the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast, our second news segment. Charlie, you want to talk about California?
Yes, California legislators passed a fee-shifting law last year. A recent case was settled when the plaintiffs and the California State Attorney General's office agreed that the state wouldn't impose these fees. The state then argued in court that lawsuits questioning the constitutionality of the fee-shifting law should be moot since no one has to pay the multi-million-dollar fines yet. Judge Roger Benitez said, quote, the American court system and its the American court system and its form for peacefully resolving disputes is the envy of the world. One might question the wisdom of the state law that disputes gun owners from using the courts to peacefully resolve disagreements over the constitutionality of state laws, end quote. The judge was saying we should fight this in the courts rather than in the streets.
Chalk one more up for that. This was an SAF lawsuit, and chalk one more up for Saint Benitez, as he's being called, and I would kind of tend to agree with that that designation as Saint Benitez. He's come down on our side a lot lately. Looking at Rob, you got. Ha! Okay, I can't repeat that one on the air. So anyway, we have show notes that are on Google
we'll
Docs.
just say to all of the listeners, it was just a slam for Charlie reading the story.
Yes.
And we'll leave it at that. Because everybody does rock, paper, scissors as to who has to read the story. And so.
Yes.
Yeah, when Charlie reads, everybody loses. Right.
There we go.
And may we also state that Charlie is a music teacher, not a speech teacher.
Well, I will admit I am fighting getting cheater glasses. That's what I'm sticking with.
That's okay. I don't read those because I have one eye and just a piece of my nose in to be able to get close enough to read it. So I'm with you. So I just cannot. I can't get my glasses situated enough to read.
I cheat. So, yeah. I blow the text up so big that anybody could read it. I put the text at 200%.
You get 3 words per screen, and you're just scrolling fast.
Yep. Yes.
All right.
Okay, that's what I need to do.
Let's talk about Mecklenburg.
Few sheriffs need to be sued as badly as the Democrat sheriff, Gary McFadden, in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. The sheriff is acting as if Democrats elected him. So he'll apply and also ignore the law the way those Democrat voters want. The sheriff is again in court after he used mental health provisions in the state's permit law to intentionally delay the issuing of concealed carry permits for months at a time. The sheriff has stalled thousands of firearms purchase applications left over from the Jim Crow era. There are 100 counties in North Carolina. The sheriffs in the other 99 counties are somehow able to issue permits, where McFadden can't see his way clear. Under North Carolina law, sheriffs must issue or deny concealed carry permits and pistol purchase permits within 45 days of receiving an application. Instead,
who's the one that needs the speech therapist?
Instead, the complaint alleges that some residents of Mecklenburg County have to wait over a year on their applications. The sheriff says he has 45 days after he receives all the information he requests. The case is in front of the United States District Court for the Western District of North Carolina. What Sheriff McFadden has done is send medical records requests to the VA, even if the applicant was never in the military.
Yeah, it's ridiculousness is what is going on in Charlotte, is what's going on.
Now, see, Ohio had a similar thing in one of our counties when we first passed the concealed carry. And their explanation was, well, we need time to build the building to be able to install the person to take the applications before the 45 days can start. So we're going to start taking design concepts first, right? So the design concepts, then the budgeting, then the building, then the...
you can't forget the environmental impact studies about the building before the building goes up.
Yeah,
Did you say Cincinnati, Cleveland? Yes.
It was one of the C's.
Yeah.
Because Ohio is 3 C's.
Right.
Yes. Can't they just find a building that's abandoned or already being used or has space for rent, or I don't know, an office that they're not using, or would that make too much sense?
All of that, but yeah, they didn't win, but that was the story. So there are some counties that tilt at windmills, and it sounds like North Carolina is going to be handed his hat also.
One would hope so, at least. And
right.
Again, the wheels of the courts, the what's the old saying? Wheels of justice grind extremely fine, but extremely slow. So, one would hope that eventually this sheriff gets out of office because of election, and that may happen faster than the court case gets run all the way up to the Supreme Court. So
So one of the questions is in North Carolina, do you have to go to your county sheriff? In Ohio, you can go to any adjacent county to your county. And so people got relief by just going to a different county.
Yeah, I am not a North Carolina attorney, and I just do not know. Before we go off to the next story, though, I want to. This may send us off on a little bit of a tangent. 500 Magnum wants to know how long until suppressors are off the NFA. I want less hearing loss. I will say, speaking on behalf of John Richardson and myself, both of us suffer from hearing loss. We're right there with you. In most of Europe, it is strongly encouraged, if not required, that you have mufflers on your firearms.
It's considered polite.
Yeah, it's considered polite. And so, and you're just going back to...
Let's put it this way. I've ordered my suppressor, and I've left it at my gun shop.
Okay, and you're just waiting on the federal government to do their 18 months of work to approve you.
Oh, no. I haven't paid the money.
Oh.
I haven't filed for the form. I've just got it sitting in gun shop limbo in their inventory. They can't give it to me because I haven't done the paperwork yet. Should they? So here's my thought. This is maybe a crazy thought, because at some point I could do the $200 tax stamp if I wanted to, but I don't wanna. And I know that as soon as, and I truly believe that the NFA is going to go away, because history, text, and tradition, and 1791, and the NFA was 1934. So I believe it's going to go away. I believe that as soon as it looks like it's going to go away, the waiting list for the line for suppressors in any NFA item is going to go through. You thought the 18 months that you're waiting for the ATF to do your paperwork was a long time. The line that you're going to get in to be able to get a suppressor is going to be huge. So I jumped the line, ordered my stuff, got it, and it's sitting there so that I can take possession when things free up.
That's
what's
smart.
the name of that gun shop? Because I want there's a guy who I want to turn in about the USPS, and maybe I can get your suppressor before you do.
No, that's not how it works. He's allowed to have it. And I've not taken possession of it. I've not touched it. It is perfectly legal, and it is just sitting on his books.
Have you heard about guys who get it at a range that is also a gun store? And he goes, I've actually shot my suppressor. Of course, I can't walk past the counter with it, but yeah, strange.
But he's got, so there's this time when you can schedule conjugal visits with it, if you will, and then you because the gun shop's allowed to have the paperwork and go to the range, but anyhow.
Okay, well, speaking of conjugal visits, I want our full auto back. That's kind of where we're at with that too. I don't believe that part of the NFA is going to fall. I honestly believe the whole thing is going to go down, and so
that's where my bet is.
I don't know that and what's going to happen then is not only will there's going to be a waiting list, but after about a year after the NFA falls, and we're allowed to buy new manufacture full auto, the prices are going to drop like a rock. You'll be able to pick up a M4 or a M16 or a full auto AK for $1,200-$1,300 instead of the $3,500-$3,600 for a 100-year-old barely functioning Tommy gun. So
I think that you have to take into account supply and demand. So supply and demand is going to be that as soon as you can have it, everybody's going to get in queue. You look right now at the Magnum Research Tommy gun Car Arms folks, they are sold out already 3 years in advance. So I think that your number is, I think it's going to stay, it'll drop a little, maybe 15, 20%, but it's not going to drop 50%. And I think the line is going to get long. And I think it'll stay long for quite a while because people are like, I haven't been able to have it. I don't trust that they're not going to take it back away from me. I'm going to get in queue and get on order now so that I'm in the books for having it.
But let's look beyond. There's a lot more manufacturers than Car Arms. There are hundreds of manufacturers. If not, no, let me correct myself. There are thousands of manufacturers of AR platform rifles. As soon as new manufacturer full autos are allowed, there's going to be thousands of manufacturers cranking them as fast as they can crank them. So I don't think 18 months for prices to fall is too far out there.
Okay, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
I think I need to get the Only Feet channel going.
All right. Then we're talking about this right now, and so have to take into account there are people that don't want the NFA to go away. If the NFA goes away, they lose all the value they have in the machine guns they own. There's a lot of people that's true for. Anybody that owns NFA right now may secretly be hoping the NFA does not go away. They may put a different spin on it.
It's both extremes to the pendulum. I mean, it's those who own these extremely expensive guns who don't necessarily want it to go away, and those who are anti-gun who don't want it to go away. And so both ends of this pendulum are both hoping that they can lock it up there one way or the other.
Right. And go ahead.
No, finish.
I was just going to say that I go back to what John Petrolino talked about at AmCon last year, is who do we work for? And we work for the Second Amendment. So if you invested in a full auto with the plans of selling it for $45,000 to help fund your retirement, rock on. If the NFA isn't there because we've got freedom, then you've kind of lost out. And this is what happens in the free market, you know?
I would say that if you were that person, you would sell it now.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So is it, do we want freedom, or do we want our own selfish wants? I went into a gun store about a month ago, and I came in the middle of a conversation, and I heard the guy, and this was just after the election, and I heard the guy, the gun store owner, say something along the lines of, "Why would I not vote for a Democrat when it's good for my business?" And I was like, "Hey man, it was nice to see you. Thanks for sharing." You know?
Yeah.
So
there's more than one gun shop in Massachusetts, right?
Right. There is. So that was just one of those little things where I'm like, oh, that doesn't sit well. So you bought the machine guns hoping that to sell them for a boatload of money, and that their value is going to go up. But is it better for the country if you've got a bunch of money, or if we don't have the NFA?
500 Magnum just sent a comment in speaking directly to that. I don't care if I had a gun worth $10 million. I'd rather it be worth $500 if freedom is restored.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And then, so if I were the only one that owned a M1A Abrams tank, I'd still want it to be legalized, even though the value of my tank's going to go down. So, but let's be honest, in the case of the M1A Abrams tank, it's not going to go down that much because they're still expensive as heck. So,
Well, and I think that the vintage machine guns may drop in price, but they're not going to drop. They're not going to drop down to where a commercial something is. It's sort of like looking at vintage cars. You know, it just there's a level that maintains its value. It may not be the absolute premium, but you know, watch a Barrett Jackson auction and tell me that it's just an old car.
Well, you're exactly right, and let's face it, we haven't been able to buy a new manufacturer full auto since 1984, 85, somewhere in there. And so any of those are going to be any currently available full autos are going to be 35-year-old at the minimum. And let's be frank, they're going to be older than that, the vast majority. So
it's still a collector's piece.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you going to lose some value on it? Yep, but hopefully you've got...
Right, it's not gonna go from $35,000 to $1,500.
No,
right.
No, because it's going to have its tax stamp. It's going to have its provenance. It's going to have its history. That this survived in a time when a lot of them didn't.
And I want to go to, and I'm jump. You guys don't have access to this because it's in the show notes. Well, Charlie does, but it's in the show notes for the bullet today. There was a story we didn't get to from Spectrum News in California, and there was a gun buyback in L.A. A total of 459 firearms were collected during 2 Los Angeles Police Department events, allowing people to exchange the weapons for gift cards. Both events were conducted between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. Saturday, with one at Exposition Park, the other at Valley Traffic Division. People received a $100 gift card for turning in guns, handguns, shotguns, and rifles, and 200 gift cards for ghost guns and assault weapons. The final totals were 138 rifles, 80 shotguns, 168 pistols, and here's where I'm calling Bravo Sierra, 13 assault weapons, 38 ghost guns, and 21 machine guns, and one labeled Other, police said. And there was LAPD's 13th annual gun buyback event. What I'm going to call Bravo Sierra on is the machine guns, the ghost guns, and the assault weapons. So again, it's
any
not
rifle in a can of black Rust-Oleum, and all of a sudden you've got the nasty black rifle. So there you go.
Yeah, 21 machine guns. I'm having a problem believing that.
Machine gun that is, if you took a machine gun that is not papered, so it is illegal, and you saw it in half, it is worth $5,000 in pieces. So I stand with you. That just is, yeah.
A crock of cheese.
Exactly, a big crock of cheese.
And I want to talk just a minute about the stupidity of these buybacks, because this, as of a lot of them, are no questions asked. So all this is fencing. Go steal a gun. You can get the police to give you a gift card for it for either $100 or $200. They're not going to ask you about where you got it. They're not going to ask you how you got it. And so you win. You just got rid of evidence, and you're in the clear, and the police gave you money for it. So,
bingo.
Let's see here. I want to get 2 more comments in, both by 500 Magnum. He says
500 Magnum's on a roll tonight.
I'm telling you, man. He said freedom is priceless. It cannot be bought. I'm going to say it was purchased for us by a lot of soldiers over a long period of time. And he also says, anyone that will give up a little liberty for a little security deserves neither and will lose both. I think that was a twist on a Benjamin Franklin quote.
Yep.
Yes.
But I like the sentiment.
Yes. And one more from Big John 410 here. There was a high-capacity magazine buyback in Delaware a while back. Did not hear any news coverage about the result. Probably.
That's probably what you need to know.
Yeah.
They had a
there were no results.
they had a gun buyback program here in the next county over, and I was like, darn it, because you had to be a county resident. Otherwise, we were cleaning out every broken whatever we got in the widget factory and taking it down there, but it was the wrong county.
See, okay, you guys make jokes about firearms in boating accidents. Where I live, things are so wet and humid. I've seen guys with literally rusted pieces of steel that used to be a gun in the corner. And I'm thinking a buyback is just perfect for a lot of those.
Yes.
Exactly.
I have a World War II 7mm Mauser that was my grandfather's, and it was something that we found in the house and in the basement, and it was damp and it was rusty and the wood's all chipped up and it really looks like hell. It was missing a bolt, and I went to a gun show. I found a bolt for it, and I took it to a gun store. I took it to a gunsmith, and I said, "Hey, I just want you to check this out and make sure it's okay to work." And he's like, "You don't have a gun. You have a piece of wood and a piece of metal that look like a gun. Don't turn this into a lamp. Take this down to a buyback and get $25 for it." And I was like, "That's not the answer I was looking for." So I took it home and put it in the closet, and that's where it lives. It's to me, it's a family heirloom that my grandfather had, and
Right.
I'm not giving it away for whatever the amount would be. $200 is not enough for that. $5,000 isn't enough for that. So I'm not willing to sell out my history for a chunk of money for a gun that I can't even shoot.
But I would be willing to sell your history for $200 when you were looking. I think that's the point we're making. You're not home, and now I know exactly where it's at.
I love my friends, right? And friends like these.
But but that's exactly the point. Is that we know these things have more value than what they're offering. So the only people who are trading them in, they're either broken, they have no value to them, or they have a reason why they want to get rid of them. So if they have no value to me, that means that it had value to you, but it wasn't mine, but it doesn't really matter because the $200 is going to be mine, and you're going to be like, where did that go?
And the police department, having not asked any questions, is going to just go ahead and destroy the thing.
Right, they're not going to know
because
that
we got it in a buyback. We bought it. We're going to destroy it.
Right.
So
they're not going to know that.
Charlie's just out all the way around.
Yeah, loser.
Rob, do we want to? We got one. We want to talk about Michigan here, and then we'll go to break again after we do the Michigan story.
Great. Unsurprisingly, gun control failed horribly in Michigan last year. The Free Press recently reported that the mass murderer who attacked his high school, quote, he should have been sent home under the Oxford School District's own threat assessment policy. Why, you might ask? Well, the attacker was drawing pictures of guns and bloods on his homework sheet. Son, what's going on? Really? Why don't you go to the office? Anyway, the New York Times found out that a law firm associated with the district's insurance carrier issued a statement that said, multiple staff members, they actually received threat assessment training before the November 30th tragedy. Right. That's not what the allegations by former school board members say. And therefore, the insurance says, no, that's just a misunderstanding of the facts. Okay, what are the facts? One day before the shooting, the murderer was reportedly caught researching bullets on his cell phone in class. According to whistleblowers, former school board members, he should have been sent home under the district's own threat assessment policy. The murderer's parents pleaded not guilty to charges of involuntary manslaughter, and they're going to go on trial next month. The murderer brought the pistol. The murderer's father bought the pistol only a few days before the fatal attack. After the shooting, the parents went into hiding. They were arrested, hiding in a warehouse. On the day of the murder, school officials met with the murderer and his parents. The murderer had already stolen his parents' pistol. He has it in his backpack. None of the school officials thought to search the backpack. If the officials had, they would have discovered the gun. The teen would have been expelled. The teen, hopefully, would have been either jailed or gotten the help he needed. As noted in the New York Times report, an alarming note was found in the murderer's desk. It said, "The thoughts won't stop. Help me." School officials met with the murderer's parents, and they said, "We think this kid needs to leave." The parents resisted bringing him home. The school backed down. The murder happened later that same day. This is why schools have guidelines and why hopefully they will be punished when they fail to follow them.
See, and part of this prosecution has to be the fact that the parents had a key piece of information, which is they just bought a gun. And so there's this conversation that they're having right there saying that this kid's got bad thoughts. He's drawing pictures of bullets and guns and blood and asking for help. And the parents don't say, "Oh, yeah, and last week we bought a gun and brought it into the house."
Right. Yeah.
What I want to say about this is mass murderers really rarely and almost never come straight out of the blue. They give off warning sign after warning sign after warning sign. And I go all the way back to the book Warnings Unheeded by
right.
Andy Brown. Ever since I read that book, I've taken a look at mass murder gunmen, and every single time there are clues that are out there. There are people that could have stepped in, and they never, ever, ever do. And most often that includes people in places like schools, places like the VA, places like all kinds of official government places where, hey, it's your job to step in if you think something's going wrong. However, they don't want to step in because Tommy or Jimmy or whoever is just turning his life around. There's still hope for him, right up until there isn't.
To me, it really seems like there's a lot of people that drop the ball. Whether it's the school not doing the protocols that they have, whether it's the parents buying the gun. I get that you're free to do what you want to do, but if your kid has these issues, he's fantasizing about killing people, might not be a good time to go buy a gun. You know, keep everything locked and secured. Maybe have someone hold on to your guns for a little bit. Get them out of the house until you get through this. It seems like there's a lot of people that were that could have done something that didn't, and it seems like everyone had some sort of a red flag that they could have picked up on, and they didn't do anything about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Charlie, I like what you said. A number of people had a red flag, and if you put them together, they paint a much brighter picture.
Mm. I know this is an old show. I'm a big fan of Anthony Calandro's Gun for Hire, and he did an episode years ago, and I want to say for the longest time I thought it was episode 66, but I think it's like 67 or somewhere between 65 and 70. where he talked about the things that a mass murderer goes through before they commit the mass murder. They go through a fantasy stage where they dream about going through the school and killing people. And then they go through the process of planning everything out, and then they make sure that that everything can happen, and they figure out when they're going to do this and how they're going to do this and how they're going to get the gun into the school. They go through all of this, and there's and it's interesting that, you know, when you hear all these steps, these are the things that these guys end up going through, and he was doing all of this by drawing the pictures. You know, he let his parents know that he needed some help, and no one helped him. There's a lot of people that dropped the ball on this.
Yeah.
All right, let's. I'm going to get a couple comments in here. We're going to head off to our break here. And I just looked at the clock, and we're 5 minutes before I wanted to get out of here. So, but we're going to be a little long. Big shock. Let's get a couple comments in here quick. 500 Magnum. I can't sell my guns because I lost it all in a kayaking accident. Well, Rob, I think you lost some in a diving accident. But anyway, and that brings up another thing I was going to mention at the time. But Rob, you live in salt water area. You don't have to have your guns ruined by having them drop in the water. You could be strapped on your side and be in a boat, and a big wave hits, you get splashed on you. You're going to have salt water on your gun. That's an issue.
People who get relocated for storm events want to get their firearms into a controlled environment really quickly, and or give it to a gunsmith. Here, I didn't take care of it for a month. Take it apart, otherwise it's going to turn into a brick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get one in from Mike White here. When they should, speaking about what we were just talking about, when they should step in, they don't. When they shouldn't step in, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. A lot of and that's a big problem with the red flag laws. And I'm going to be honest here. The people who are advocating for red flag laws think they're doing something good. And yet, the victimization from these things is huge compared to the minuscule fraction of actual damage that is stopped. So
it's not even just saying that someone's a threat doesn't fix anything.
Yeah.
Whether they take the guns away, unless you taking the guns away, take their license, whatever. That's really not going to fix anything unless they get some help that they need. Unless they talk to someone.
You don't take them.
Right.
You haven't taken them. You haven't taken them out of the circumstance. You've taken one of the tools, and not all the tools.
Yeah, I mean, this kid still had all these bad thoughts in his head, and he left a note that said he's looking for help, and nobody helped him.
All right, let's do this. Go, Charlie. Finish your thought.
No. That's okay. I wasn't all the way there.
All right. Let's step aside let's step aside to our final break here. Not our final. Yeah, I'm going to make it our final break. We're going to hear from the complete combatant. When we come back, we're going to do our DGU segment, and we're going to close the show out because we're running that long. We'll be right back, folks, right after this.
This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by The Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant is designed for a broad base of citizens that range from students that don't own a gun on up to advanced students that train often. The Complete Combatant offers several different courses that build upon each other, from avoidance, using verbal commands, and preparing for contact, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, your 911 call, interacting with the police, to even dealing with the legal system in the aftermath. The Complete Combatant courses are a layered approach for all levels of experience that will walk you through all the many stages of decisions while developing a game plan tailored to your skills and your everyday carry. please visit www.thecompletecombatant.com and make sure you mention this ad to receive 15% off. Again, that's www.thecompletecombatant.com and mention the ad for 15% off.
All right, we're back for the final segment of the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. This is the DGU, or Defensive Gun Use segment. And as we begin, these discussions are not legal advice. Some of us are trainers, but this is not formal training, and you need formal training. The Defensive Gun Use segment is intended as entertainment and information only, not as training. As always, the opinions of the hosts are only their own opinions and not those of any sponsors or other affiliations. I'm going to go ahead and take this first one out of East Point, Michigan. Just before 10 p.m., a woman called the police saying her boyfriend had jumped her. During the attack, her 15-year-old son got her handgun and shot the boyfriend. When police arrived, they found the boyfriend had died. Both the woman and the son were taken into custody. She was released the same day. Her son was released 2 days later after a hearing. Police, by the way, had been at the address 5 times recently for domestic abuse, harassment, and similar offenses. I'm going to jump in on this one first. I'm going to give better than even odds that there was a protection order in place here, and these things are just pieces of paper. This guy, if there was one, walked right through it and attacked, and thankfully the 15-year-old was able to get mom's handgun and stop the attack before it got really ugly. Rob, you're up in show notes. You got any thoughts?
Right. Paul, I'll disagree. If there was a restraining order, I don't think this young man would have gone to jail for several days. A restraining order is typically, and it's called orders of protection, different states use different nomenclature. It says there's a no contact rule. If either of you calls the other one up to meet, hey, your stuff's here, come get it, can't do it. Your lawyer has to make the call for you. You might give that, hi, I'm going to give it to my lawyer will give it to the other person's lawyer. If your ex is found near your home and the police come, boom, he goes to jail immediately. There is no question. It's not even a matter of discretion on the part of the law enforcement officers. I bet there wasn't a restraining order.
Now that you,
Rob,
very well said, Rob.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree now.
I agree with you, Rob, and I think that this is, my guess would be alcohol is involved, and that this is a circumstance where this happens often. The police come in, break it up, separate them, and then everybody goes to their corner, and then they're all good again because they really didn't mean it.
Wow.
Supposedly, right? And when you start to see that, in it just is it's a unique dynamic that those of us who don't live in it don't even understand it. I've worked with people who are in this circle, and they just can't get out of the circle.
Wow.
It's crazy how crazy it is.
So what you're saying is, well, he really didn't mean it because he said it when he was drunk or when he was high, and that's how it keeps going?
And that's how it keeps going. I mean, let me give you an example that recently I was having a conversation with somebody who their son, stepson, grandson, so all of these males in the family were drinking. One knocks out the teeth of another one, and then there's a conversation 3 days later, well, you know, this one's going to find that one in an alley and beat him up, but they all come over for Thanksgiving dinner. So, you know, you just watch this dynamic, and it's like, it's not going to get any better. It's not.
It's definitely not going to get better. Maybe if alcohol was involved, this could be a little bit of truth serum, if you know what I mean. Sometimes when you've had too much to drink, you say how you really feel about things.
You're saying we lose our filter?
Yeah.
Some people don't have
So-
one.
I may have experienced this once or twice, but I'm going with yes.
Okay. All right. So I guess we come around to one. I'm going to steal one of Rob's classic taglines. I wonder what the toxicology report would say.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Right.
It would say we should go to Chicago for our next DGU.
Let's do that.
Yes.
I want
Hey,
to point out one thing real quick,
Ooh,
if
go.
I can. Living in occupied territory, if a 15-year-old can get an FID card here in Massachusetts, but if they get to the gun and you don't have it locked and secured so that they have access to it, the mother would get in trouble for improper storage here in occupied territory.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So even if they cause someone to survive the encounter by shooting the bad guy, there's still going to be repercussions.
There's probably going to be a fine, yeah,
Wow.
which is crazy. Yeah. Welcome to the Commonwealth.
In Chicago, Illinois, a 56-year-old concealed carry permit holder shot and wounded 2 robbers. The concealed permit holder was in his car, and the 3 teenagers drove up. One of the teens got out and pointed a gun at the permit holder. A struggle ensued between the teenager and the permit holder opened fire. 2 suspects were struck as a result. The getaway driver was shot in the head, and another teenage attacker was shot in the shoulder. The getaway driver then crashed the getaway car. The driver is in critical condition, and the teen who was shot in the shoulder is in serious condition. The third accomplice, riding in the back seat of the suspect's vehicle, broke his leg when the getaway car crashed. He remains hospitalized.
Wow.
My mother has a statement for this, and that is that you should pick your friends better. So one of these guys had a brilliant idea, and the other 2 went along with it or yeehawed, and so it results in 2 of them having a bullet hole and one of them having a broken leg. Pick better friends.
You can pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but
And pick your friend's nose.
But Illinois has something called felony homicide. The driver's been shot in the head. If he dies, the other 2 may be charged with felony murder.
yep.
Hi, you guys went and did something. We're talking about committing a felony, at least aggravated assault, if not attempted murder, and somebody died during that. You're looking at some real prison time. Welcome to adulthood, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm wondering if in Mayor Lightfoot, Chicago, where the police and some of the prosecutors are so heavily tied as to what they can do, if they don't bear the brunt of some of this, because if there's a car stolen, the police can't give chase. Somebody might get hurt. So just steal the car. There's no repercussions. The police aren't going to chase you. The police aren't
At gunpoint? Yeah.
Yeah, it's I just got because the police aren't allowed to act, the individuals who are attacked have to save their own lives.
Good point.
Yep.
So here's a little training thing. How do you carry, and have you practiced drawing your firearm while you're seated in your car with your seatbelt on? If the answer is no, you might want to
Maybe
think
that's
about
something
that.
you might want to think about. Also, if you think, especially thinking of those of you who drive sports cars, if you think ankle carry is a great thing, I want you to sit in your car. I want you to tie your shoes while you're sitting in the driver's seat, especially if it's a sports car. If you can do that without pain, then maybe ankle carry is for you. If not, you may want to rethink that.
Does somebody feel singled out here in this group? Does somebody feel?
I want to say this.
out?
I wear slip-on shoes, okay? My weight loss goal is to be able to put my shoes on without getting out of breath, okay?
Paul, I think you're probably absolutely right. And that may be where tactically we'd say, if you've practiced, you want to have your hand on your firearm before you get out of the car, because the other guy can't see through the car to see what you're doing. Your motions are masked.
Yeah,
On the other hand,
especially
if you
have
haven't
tinted
practiced
windows.
Right. If you haven't practiced that, you have to resort to what you've already practiced, which means you open the door, you step back, they step forward, and you go to work.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and we're going to jump to our next segment, and without a break. And I'm going to say, Rob, what's been going on over at Slowfax?
Gun Control Chicago had 11 people shot and wounded this weekend. 31 more were shot and wounded during the entire week, not just the weekend. More sad news is that 4 people were shot and murdered since Friday night. We're not all the same, and it's important to notice our differences. Notice that violence is localized. Most counties won't have a single murder. Firearms, club, knife, none. More than half of our murders are in only 2% of our counties. Our murders come from our failed cities and from the politicians that killed those cities. Unfortunately, our major news outlets are also located in most of those cities. Politicians in those failed cities say that the violence isn't really their fault. It's the guns. The guns that they say come from other places where there isn't any crime. That article is called Just Another Weekend in Mayor Lightfoot, Chicago. My articles are up at Clash Daily, at AmmoLand, and at my blog, slowfax.wordpress.com.
I want to put a bug in
Charlie?
your ear, Rob, before we go to Charlie. I want to put a bug in your ear, bud.
Yeah.
Almost having, as a young man, when I was in college, my goal was to be big-time radio, big-time media.
Oh. Yes.
And I will say this. If you are a small market media person, your goal is to be big market media. And so you emulate big market media. Even if you're in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Ottumwa, Iowa.
Gotcha.
Even if you're in Rain, Louisiana, you are going to emulate the big market media stations there, even to the point where you allow some of their taint from their tainted view to come into your own. So, Charlie, talk about writing shotgun and riding shotgun with Charlie, and anything else you want to talk about, bud.
All right, so writing shotgun. Just before Thanksgiving, the latest episode of Armed Lifestyle magazine came out. And in it, I revisited and re-interviewed Michael Sodini from Walk the Talk America. So maybe if this kid in Michigan knew about the free and anonymous healthcare assessment or mental health care assessment at WTTA, then maybe he could have sought out some help, because it seemed like his parents and his folks didn't want to help him. Anyway, so I have that out, and you can listen to the re-interview I did with Michael on the Writing Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel. I filmed the show with Carrie Ann O'Clair and Renee Gagne, who are the Massachusetts and Rhode Island DC Project gals, respectively. And I was on a show with them. They have a new show that they started up called Sisters in Arms, and we had a lot of fun. They have this on a public access channel, and of course, I will be social mediaing the snot out of it when the video comes out. But there's a couple great gals to hang out with and have a lot of fun with. And that is what I've got going on.
I gotta say,
Amanda.
I heard public access, and the first thoughts in my mind were, "Party on, dude!" Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely. So it was kind of an interesting thing. There were laws and rules, and not laws, but rules and things they had to abide by.
I gotta say, the pictures I've seen of that's a very professional looking set they have.
Oh, it's amazing. It's like a legit community access channel. It's a great set. They go in, they treat you like royalty and everything, and they got 3 or 4 different cameras going on, and it's really cool. They got a nice little thing going on there. They're getting going.
Where is the studio?
It is in Taunton, Massachusetts, or as we call it here, Taunton.
Okay.
Amanda,
the cool part is that they called me and started to talk about this, and so I gave them some pointers and stuff. So I feel like I'm like the great aunt to this thing where these girls are going. I'm like, you go, girls. So it's so much fun when somebody reaches out and they ask for some pointers or some guidance, and you can send them on a way to where they're successful and happy doing it. And it's like, I love that. Absolutely love that. So for me, I'm just plodding along, not doing anything. So just a little bit of this.
Yeah. Baloney! Was that external? I'm sorry.
Just a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but go ahead, Rob.
Right. I was going to say, it's like telling the mafioso that goes, just a little pushcart business. Good grief, girl. You leave my head dizzy when you tell us all you've done.
Yeah, so it's just is. So check out Eye on the Target Radio, and I'm still working on figuring out how to reformulate Women for Gun Rights. Its format's going to change, so I'm going to do some. I'm going to shake it up. I just have to think it all through so I know exactly what it's going to look like when it comes out the other side. But
cool.
There we go. And I'm running for it. In case you haven't heard, I'm running for the board of directors for the NRA.
You don't say.
So I've started to do these little promos. In case you've seen or not seen one of my little promos, I have 64 different people in the industry who have said yes, indeed, they will give me a quote and to put together for these promos. And I figured out when the NRA magazine is coming out, and so I'll slowly ramp up to this and tag everybody and hopefully utilize social media to the absolute maximum. You guys may get tired of seeing all the people I know. I apologize for that in advance.
Well, and there you have somewhere. Facebook has a limit of 5,000 friends. You're right there.
Right. Yeah.
So
4,800, 900. Yeah. Sometimes I get up to about within 20, and then I have to go in and it's really crazy because there's some dead people on my list, but they're dead people who are friends, and so I'm not gonna eliminate the dead friends until somebody on their side eliminates their page. So sometimes I have to eliminate live people that I don't interact with because I'm not getting rid of the dead people. So
they're not your dead friends, they're dead weight.
No. They just now and then somebody hacks them and it makes me happy. Because then it's like, oh, look at that. Craig's talking to me again. Oh, well, probably not.
Wait a second.
But yeah. Oh, so you mean the other people are dead weight? Got it.
Yes,
Sorry,
the people that you're getting, the live people are dead weight.
Right.
I have gotten messages from friends on Facebook who have passed on, and I actually have a wonderful time playing with them when these crooks try to scam me. I actually kind of enjoy that. I'll drag them on because if they're paying attention to me, who I'm obviously know who they are and what's going on. If they're paying attention to me, they're not paying attention to somebody else. So I'll waste my time
There you go.
so somebody else doesn't. They don't have time for somebody else.
It's a sacrifice. I just, before you hop in, Paul, and wrap things up, I just want to say we have the best listeners and the best viewers. Brent Amston messaged me and found out that the episode of Gun for Hire that I was talking about was episode number 60. So if people want to check that out.
I love it when they're listening and then they're messaging you and they're telling you the stuff that's happening. It's just, it's great.
Right. This is some producing that they got going on here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I want to get a few comments in before we go away as well. I think this is the middle of a conversation, but I'm going to put it up on the air anyway. 500 Magnum. Them suing gun manufacturers because of a psychopath is about as stupid as me suing Little Debbie for making me fat.
I have to have a conversation with Little Debbie coming up because let me tell you.
Because you can't tie your shoes without losing your breath.
Something like that. Man.
CNT says, by the way, the House Judiciary Committee is holding a markup tomorrow on some gun control bills. And he corrected that. He said, oops, that's the 7th, which is actually the day after tomorrow. And I do not believe, I'm looking again, I do not believe I have preloaded on almost all the other shows I do. I do not have a preloaded flash where I can put up the number for 202-221-3121, I think, and somebody will comment and correct me if I'm wrong in the next 30 seconds. 202-221-3121, I want to say, is the number for but you certainly Google it for the number for the House.
Capitol Switchboard.
Yes. Call that number and they will get you in touch with your House member. All you got to know, you don't even have to know who it is, just give them your zip code. They'll put you in touch.
202-224-3121.
224-3121. Okay. I was close. And on every other show I do, I've got, including Amanda's show, I've got a button I can push and that number flashes across the screen. So, yeah, it would be a great time to get a hold of your House members right now.
Yeah, I Googled that one myself, Amanda. Thank you.
And he even said it without needing a speech therapist. So,
because they're short numbers.
There's so much respect in this room. So much respect.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to say that does wrap up another episode of the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast. So for Amy, Dana, Tracy, John, Susan, Amanda, Robin, Charlie, and Rob.
Until next time.
Stay safe.
Be aware.
And we'll see you down the road.
The views and opinions on the show you just heard are those of the host and the guest and are not necessarily the views of any sponsors or other affiliations. But hey, not everyone is as smart as we are.
Actually, darn few are as smart as we are. We're out of the recording. For everybody that's commented, is watching, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close the stream out today. And come join me tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central, for a edition of The Bullet. And I believe that, Rob, are you not on The Bullet tomorrow?
I wasn't last week, so I assume I am this week.
Nobody was on The Bullet last week. There wasn't one, so I'm going to just check my calendar here fast.
You let me know.
Yeah, it's Rob Morse is on The Bullet tomorrow, so very cool. All right. Come join us for that. And thanks, everybody. And we're going to go ahead and kill the stream. We'll see you next time.